Okay, I'm Barbara Gall, and I've been a photographer since I was 10, which is way long time ago. And the name of the show is Enchanted because it's New Mexico and it's the land of enchantment, but I thought that was too obvious. So I made it Enchanted. But I am enchanted with New Mexico, and my first trip there was in August of 1971, and I can't even tell you how many times I've been there. At least 20, 25 times. The reason I think New Mexico is called the land of enchantment is because of the lighting. The lighting is like nowhere else. It's clear and bright and has kind of a magical quality to it, I think. And then it's like going to a foreign country, but you don't have to have a passport. You don't have to change your money, but it's like going to a foreign country. And the longer I've been in the West, I have learned more and more of the history and why New Mexico is like it is, because it wasn't part of the United States until 1848 when they signed the treaty, and most of the people who lived there had no idea they had switched countries. They didn't bother telling them. So a lot of the old stuff dates back to that and the traditions and those small towns. I went in July because I knew I was doing this show, and I knew there were certain things I wanted to go back to, and I also wanted to go to places I hadn't been before. And I was on the road. I had a couple reservations at a motel in Santa Fe, but other than that, I was just driving. And I was by myself. I wasn't on any kind of schedule with anybody. And I discovered a lot of things I had not seen before. But I also wanted to go back and say, well, I don't have a really good picture of this, so I want to go back there and try to get a better one of that. Or I have pictures of this area from 1970s, so I want pictures of it now, 50 years later. So that was what that trip was about. When I first was on Canyon Road, it was the hangout for hippie artists. It was not what Canyon Road is now, by any way. And there's one up here, this one. I went behind one of the hotshot galleries that went out the back door, and I'm in that old Canyon Road. And I photographed a whole bunch of that. But here's this junky, falling apart adobe with some really expensive sculpture. Somebody just put it out there. That thing has to be worth a fortune. And it's just sitting in the alley behind the gallery in front of a broken down old adobe. That's what I love about New Mexico. You just never know what you're gonna find. So this is from Zuni Pueblo, and you weren't allowed to take very many pictures, so I have a couple of on the Pueblo. This is a sacred mountain for the Zuni people. It's called the Corn Mountain. Some of the landscape, we have no idea what that is. And some of the stuff from Chaco. Chaco is totally magical. We were there, my husband saw a figure, a ghost, in the kiva, just at twilight. This one is from the top of Chaco. We hiked way up above on the ridge, and that's Shiprock in the background, 60 miles away. On I-25, once you get past Raton, this is all you see. It's just open prairie. And one time I just stopped and got out of the car and took 360 degrees all the way around. So here's my old car, my old Volkswagen. This is my shadow. And this is 360 degrees all the way around that road. And it's not changed at all. We found this cluster of buildings that is the epitome of what adobe looks like when it falls down. It's just amazing. And so I started looking up on maps, and this community is not on most maps, but it's on a couple that I found. And it's called Dilia, D-I-L-I-A. And it's an old Spanish community that was along the original Route 66 before they moved to the old Route 66, which is what people know now. But it used to go through this community. This is the old Canyon Road I put on here. What did I put on here? 1970s, somewhere in the 1970s. When I first went to Santa Fe in the early 70s, Canyon Road was where it was the hangout for all the hippie artists, the hippies and artists and hippie artists. And this is the same place now that I took a year ago. So Canyon Road is all gentrified and fancy and expensive and blah, 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 except for the crazy guy in the alley. Now, during a meeting about a year ago, and knew I had this time for the show, and I sat there and I looked at this wall and I went, ah, that wall is going to be a map of New Mexico, and I'm going to put all the places, they're all where they are on the map. Now, it's only about northern 2/5, maybe, it's not even a half, from Interstate 40. I have only been south of there once, and I was driving myself and didn't take pictures. So everything, this is all north of Interstate 40. Four corners is up there, and 3 corners in Oklahoma, New Mexico, Colorado is up in that corner, and it's everything in between. So for me, it was a chance to just revisit and organize and find stuff, and then decide what to print, because of course I couldn't print everything I wanted to print, but I did pretty good. All but a few of the filler smaller ones are up on the wall. It all worked, although I had nightmares for the last month about whether it was going to work. But it worked. And I went last night and printed about 6 more little ones that I was missing. Other than that, there it is.